let me make it live first and then I'll be starting. Because people expect that once things are normal, this digital platform will crash pretty soon or pretty by huge numbers. And the numbers given by the market or the industry is close to 95% fall. So that means the only viability will remain up to 5%. So I'm not actually very, say, uh, fond of that thing, fond of those numbers, what I got. But still, then, okay, live, yes, great. The session is live now. I haven't yet thought of whether I'll be making these videos live or not on my channel, but for the time being, yes, this is the approach I'll be taking, at least on a trial basis. So let me share my screen first. So whatever people from our group keep on joining, they can keep on joining. So is the screen visible to you? Is my screen visible? I have just not made it full screen. Is the screen visible to you?
Yeah.
My slides?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Okay.
Yes,
So,
it's visible.
Sure. So you can make your audios mute, but always I have this instruction laid out to all my audience that at any given point of time, you feel any kind of say misunderstanding or say any clarification you need, you can feel free to stop me even at any point of time, because I have no such qualms that my rhythm would be broken or that I'll lose the steam over there. So you can whatever you feel. So it is going to be a very short presentation, complete with images. And even those who have attended my lectures will find many things new in this approach. So let's, without wasting much time, let's start. As always, all my presentations begin with thanking the Lord Almighty, who's given me much more than what I deserve. So yes, this is my brief biodata. You are all aware of it. So these are the sessions we will be taking. I'll be starting. This is the first session which I'm taking, of course, starting with the paid group only. From practice management, tomorrow it is for the free groups. Again, as I mentioned, there are 5 and the 6th one also going on, more than say 1250 plus people in there. So the first 100 get in. But again, if I go by the data, people say you won't find even 50 people tomorrow. If I go by the research data, out of 1250 plus people, the 6th group also has 30 people. So that makes it 1280, 1290 people out of 256 into 5 plus 30. So people don't even expect 40 to 50 people even tomorrow. Let's see, because there might be various studies. So what I'm going to discuss today is goal setting, target audience, assessing needs and wants, the correct approach. So many of you must have heard this topic in written from me. You haven't heard of Dr. Harshada and Dr. Bhavna have attended my lectures also. So they might have, even Dr. Shrikant is here. So he, all those have heard me in person as well on these topics. So the only thing is that what differentiates from this is that a one-to-one approach is always better than a text approach, because sometimes what I want to convey through text might not be clear to any of you. But yes, it is clear once I'm there live with you and telling you each and every aspect which we can. So even if it is 2020, we don't need to shun our goals. I believe that there is always a rosy side to everything. हर चीज की हर रात की सुबह होती है, हर थॉन के साथ, हर रोज के साथ एक थॉन होता है. तो मैं उल्टा कहता हूँ, हर थॉन के साथ एक रोज होता है. Because life is so much about negativity these days that we rarely see the positive side. So I look at the positive side. This is the power of digital media. I wouldn't have thought at the start of the year that I'll be doing it, because I'm otherwise a very camera shy person. I don't like to even click my pictures as well as in the selfie mode or in the video mode as well. So a couple of guys requested me for webinars. I said, यार WhatsApp webinar कर लो, मेरे से वीडियो बनाने वाला काम नहीं होता. I didn't like it at the start of the lockdown, but as the lockdown progressed, you all know it, the amount of webinars I've done is again more than 20 I've done. So it's phenomenal for a person like me who has been literally camera shy. So even if it is 2020, you shouldn't shun your goals, because the goals are the pathway to your plans, and your plans will, if executed properly, will make you take action. Even if you don't find the environment conducive around you, the situation not very apt, or the resources not very handful in terms of money, especially if we say. So we need to really understand that good times will be back. Nothing lasts forever. Sydney Sheldon also said it. And make time to make plans, make time to make goals. And because once you start having the time, start having goals in actuality, you'll be easier for you to put into action. I always give the example of a T20 cricket match, because whatever the strategy is there is made by the coach or the support staff or everything in the dressing room. And in say whenever the execution part comes, it is for the power hitters or the say slam bang hitters to hit it out of the park. But if the strategy is not made, they can't execute. And if strategy is there and the execution is not there, so even then it is of no use. So both of them are equally important. It is not that only planning is important, it is the goal setting part also, and of course the final thing, execution also. And in cricket analogy, we say that the coach plans and the power hitters execute the same. So similarly, in our marketing also, the planners plan, analyze, assess, request, and even according to the say situation changes, they reassess and then repeat the whole process. In our language, we call it as the plan A, plan B, plan C. So the finishers like Dhoni and Yuvraj and the other ones, who are, they also are actually labeled as the actual doers. But sometimes people at the background, like the Gary Kirstens and the Bob Woolmers, they also need to be given the actual credit, because it is their ideas sometimes which have been executed. So it is always like a team approach. So never feel that whatever you accomplish, it is because of your skills. It might be because of your planning also, which might be say done at the background by your staff, by you, by your say think tank or whatever it is. So if we talk of the generalized mode, not in the clinic wise mode. So whenever you have to actually achieve your desired goals, we actually need both planning and finishing. As I said, there is a very uh, executed balance required between the two things, because either of the two you won't be able to end up uh, in the desired phase which you actually need to. And always it is say blamed the lack of balance between strategy and execution if the things don't work out. But if it ends well, then everything say seems well. So this is my favorite line. I always believe in plan A, plan B, and plan C for any kind of task. I always break down my goals into short term and long term. I always look at the shorter picture first. If I say I have to do 500 things in a year, or say if I say I have to do 100 things in a month, that might appear as cumbersome to me. But if I break it up, it is say less than 1.5 per year. Or if I break it up in a month wise, let's say 1300, just 3 per day. So that is the way I like to approach any situation or any scenario. And yes, it works most of the time. It is not that it won't work. So many times we actually think that यार ये इतना अच्छा रिजल्ट मिला, अगर थोड़ा सा और सोच के किया होता तो शायद जिंदगी कुछ और होती. The favorite dialogue from Three Idiots also. सब कुछ था, गाड़ी बाहर खड़ी थी, दुल्हन तैयार थी, लेकिन 1 मिनट और रुक गए होते या सोच लिया होता तो शायद जिंदगी कुछ और होती. So sometimes the outcomes would have been different if we just take a minute or more to think and say execute and analyze. That is where the role of planning comes in. You must have heard important and urgent, not important, urgent. So planning comes in that four out of those four category. Planning comes in not urgent but important category. Usually the third one. And for me, that is the most important. Of course, for important, urgent, you don't have an option. They are supposed to be done on the deadline. But for those tasks which don't seem urgent, like planning, but they are very important, they're the backbone of say any task. So if we always let me now come back from that generalized strategy to our clinic strategy. So the first thing Rajat has already discussed many times, even I have discussed those things. The first thing we have to analyze or actually think about it, that what actually are our goals in our clinic. What are we trying to accomplish? इसको अगर मैं सिंपल भाषा में ट्रांसलेट करूं, आप किसको खुश करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, किस पेशेंट को, किस कैटेगरी ऑफ पेशेंट. Category doesn't mean by their religion or anything, but according to their class of patients. What is your target group? Again, I'll be coming to the target group part in the later part. But this is the thing you have to realize, that what are your goals? If your goals are actually earning 1 million in a month, 10 lakhs in a month, so accordingly your strategy has to be supported by that only. So where you are and where you want has to be linked with both the two approaches. If you don't link it, then you will be ending up nowhere, because unless or until you actually execute or have a strategy for where you want to go, you will not be leading the road over there. So practice management strategy actually connects us with a vision in our mind, where we want to be in due course of time. So again, primary goals, secondary goals, tertiary goals, these all have to be identified. That is where the role of prioritization comes in. And we actually need to prioritize our commitments, our duties, our needs, our wants, and of course, our goals as well. So it is, as I said, even if it is 2020, you still shouldn't stop dreaming big, setting goals, and of course, when time comes, take action. I always say, keep your ammunition ready. Whenever you need to, then fire with full salvo. Then don't hesitate to do that. But always wait for the right time. It is not always good to fire all the resources at a correct time. Just an example of this session only. I'm doing it in the month of August as a testing session. I could have kept one session every week for all groups, but I didn't do so. I've just kept it as a testing platform. This is my own way of testing, where I want to end up with. So you always don't do things in abundance. You always take time to do a task, absorb it, realize it, and then connect and strategize it accordingly. That what are the results, what are the outputs. Then again, the mindset also has to run in sync with what you are actually doing. So let me, as I said, what are goals? So let me give you some goals. I always give an example of let's say an apex locator, or let's take an example of an apex locator only at this stage. A gadget bought for roughly 50,000 rupees. Most of you must be having, but let's suppose you're not having it. And what is our aim? Once we actually say buy apex locator, what should be the aim? Aim long term isme yahi hai, that we want to send the message across to all our patients that we'll be doing it with this gadget only. But yes, then if we start doing on all patients, we start thinking of money back, or say payback analysis, as we call it. So some marketing experts advise it in a different way. I'll advise it my way, because this is my session going on, so I'll advise my way, not touching the general strategies. My approach always is to go segmental approach. Why? Let's suppose you're charging 2,000 for a root canal. Just suppose the numbers. So what will be your aim? The aim would be first to introduce that in your selected patients. Who will be that selected patients? I always say there are always kind of star or brand ambassador patients in every clinic who actually start trusting you blindly, who don't have any any doubt in whatever you advise, and they blindly trust you. So they'll pick it up. For the doubters, for the doubting patients who say, there are many people who will doubt and who will Google your opinions as well. Nothing harm in that, because it is a free world. The information is flowing all over, so there is nothing wrong in going about that task. So doubting Thomas, as we call them. So those guys who blindly trust you, will first introduce this service in those patients. The long-term goal is to introduce in all. The short-term will be into do it in others. Because as an example, agar मैं आपको बोलूं कि you introduce in all, the people who doubt you, or the people who are not very having blind faith on you, what will be their answer? Doctor, what is this gadget for? You will give an answer. This will make our procedures better. इससे root canal बढ़िया होगी. If I translate it loosely. Or there may be different ways to convey or communicate with the patient, of course. Again, communication is out of this, but what I broadly want to say is, if you have to convey in one line, yes, I'll do a better root canal by this. What you said is this. What you did not said or what you did not say or was presumed by the patient, which you might not say, was इसका मतलब आप इससे पहले घटिया root canal करते थे. So that is the approach sometimes patients may have. It is not that they will always have, but they may have. So we don't want to send across the wrong message that आज तक मैंने जो काम किया वो घटिया किया. I want to do it in this way. So this is the approach we actually want to say apply in our. This is known as a segmental approach. You apply first in your say brand ambassador patients, and you go on then incrementally increasing and automatically conveying the same. At this point of time, I always say the two things that become very important are knowing, apart from record keeping, whatever you do, I've shared many times in my group also. So what you do is that the first is the patient's economics background and the patient's source of referral. These are the two very important things you need to really know, because sometimes there might be a new patient coming in. If you know the patient's source of referral, then you will be automatically introducing that gadget or enhanced charges. Obviously, when we'll be doing it with enhanced charges in those brand ambassador patients, we like to introduce those directly in our new patient, which has come from a source of referral of our brand ambassador patient. This is the way. You don't go through the say bottom approach again to those. Bottom approach means the usual way followed to every patient. So in that is where the source of referral becomes very important. Again, you don't have to ask it very formally. You can ask it in a very casual manner also. It is not exactly going to send a wrong message in any way. So the ultimate aim is to have increased awareness for our that we are we are innovating, we are upgrading. Then we have to earn money for that as well. Then we have to offer better facilities to our patient as well. Apart from say a good feeling of self-esteem. So that is the reason we actually want to send across multiple messages. But if we try to send all of them at the same time, I'm not really sure that we will be successful. Yes, we might be occasionally lucky, but it's not that we will be always lucky. So it is always better to have a focused agenda so that we achieve the conversion rate and ultimately high profitability as well. Because ultimately the bottom line approach would be there. The only thing is why I want to explain this segmental approach in a financial way also. Let me come out to the financial aspect also. कोई भी equipment आप खरीदते हैं तो medical or dental equipment comes with a depreciation of 15%, which roughly says that it has a life of 7 to 8 years. So why do you want to recover the money in 7 to 8 months? Obviously, I'm not saying to do it in 7 to 8 years as well, but don't try to jump onto increased charges in every patient for recovering the cost of that equipment. Just remember the cost. The written down value or the depreciation value should be remembered by you. Let's suppose the gadget cost you 50,000. For that gadget, 50 at 15%, the cost or the depreciation for that year would be 7,500 rupees. So if you recover 7,500 in the first year, that is a good sign in terms of equipment recovery. Obviously, we recover this in less than 2-3 months only, usually. So why do we want to hasten the process to recover all that 50,000 in 2 to 3 months? Why are we so impatient? We can easily recover that in 8 to 10 to maybe maximum 12 months easily by our normal procedure, by applying a segmental approach. That is the message I want to send across. So again, फिर start वहीं से करेंगे. ब्रांड एम्बेसडर के लिए उसके पहले आपको कहाँ चाहिए, गोल्स किसको सेल करना है, आइडेंटिफाई योर प्राइमरी टारगेट ऑडियंस, the ones you want to treat. Once you start having an increased OPD, my approach is always to filter out them. And price is the biggest filter. Trust me. Whenever you feel that you are so bogged down that you don't have even an iota of me time that I call. If you don't have any time for self-analysis, self-growth, where your clinic is going, where you are actually doing, if you don't find time for yourself, that is the time to actually apply the biggest filter in practice, the price filter. Don't be very happy that you're working very heavily. Work smartly. This is a smart age. You should be happier in working in a smart way rather than working in a heavy way. So again, as I said, the marketing approach is a different thing. There's a huge amount of time and money without a clear potential for good ROI or the return on investment. So we actually need to assess those from a dentistry point of view as well, and not only from the plain marketing point of view. Whatever there is existing in marketing will not surely exist in say in every stream of profession, we can say the marketing is applicable. So let me give you an example of the same thing which I gave you earlier for the apex regulator. I want to do 20 root canals with my newly bought apex regulator in the next month. Let's suppose you're doing 50 to 60 root canals, just an example. So you can pick up a percentage of 1/3. How many, you need to know your numbers, how many percentage of your patients you can pick actually that these are my absolutely loyal brand ambassador patients. And these numbers come only once you are, say, 5+ years in practice. Some people might not be able to actually segregate that data in less than 5 years, but if you can do that, it is wonderful. It is not that not every can do it, because the database needs to be properly assessed and to be maintained from the first year, which many of us don't do actually. So not an issue if you're doing it. If you do it, you can do it in less time, nothing like it. So then the approach would be the 10 new patients through those above 60 patients. So what in the next 3 months. So what does that mean? We actually want to generate referrals through that. That my doctor used to do a root canal in one way, and now he's adopted a different way, and it has become more comfortable for me. So this is the message people will send across, talking to their colleagues, peers, family members, friends, and social circle, whatever. That is where, again, the point I mentioned, source of referral becomes important. Somebody has come from that treated patient of yours, and you go the manual way, or in a way you without the apex regulator, fearing that it is a new patient, I don't want to apply the same method straight on. He will go back and complain to that patient, तुमने भेजा था, उसने तो मेरे को उसी से treat किया, उसने तो मेरे को कोई machine नहीं लगाई या something similar. So this is the approach you have to be. So that is why I always say, be alert and awake in your practice. You don't work like a donkey or a donkey. You work like a horse. You think like a horse. So make your minds more fertile. Make your, say, growth avenues in those regards that you are constantly aware. In any case, we need to be aware with the kind of medical legal complications coming up every now and then. We need to be really alert and awake and be treating very in a limited manner in our clinic, and not in a way. So when you make goals, set goal, make plan, get to work and stick to it and reach goal, so that the end is a smiley and not say depressing smiley. So because that is the only way you can actually go about the task. So then the further goal identification can be, I want to double my profit 100% each month. 100% means whatever you have charging. Let's suppose you did say enhanced charges of, let's suppose as we presume that you were charging 2,000 for the root canal. Now with the use of apex regulator, you are charging 2,500. So you are charging 500 extra. Let's suppose in the first month you treated 4 root canals. So roughly a profit of 4,000, or cost back or payback, whatever you can say, of 2,000. The next aim should be to make that 2,000 into 4,000. You set the goals yourself according to knowing to your limitations. What applies to me in my clinic, or in Rajat's clinic, or in Dr. Bhavana's clinic, or in Dr. Archada's clinic will not necessarily apply to all of us. Each situation is unique. So we just don't need to copy the ideas. We have to understand our own numbers, our own limitations as well. Maybe one of us might not be very good at root canal, or may not be delegating in root canal, or maybe not having it. I'll just give you an example. Ever since the start of my clinic, I have had very limited orthodontic cases. In 21 years, I won't say I had more than 100 cases of orthodontics. It is just by chance. It is not anything that yes, I have got patients for everything, but orthodontic patients just about 5 per year in the past 20 years. But that is the number. So I don't need to promote that. Even for that, I have a visiting orthodontist with me. But then this is one service which is not giving me any good returns. So why should I be promoting that place? So that is the reason you have to understand actually that your limitations, your situations are unique, and you might not be identical to any of even a same dentist in your family. We are 2 dentists in family. My brother is also dentist, a prosthodontist. He is in Palam Air Force, so Air Force Station, Delhi. So he is in a government job. His situation is different from mine. He's younger than me also. His skills are different than mine. His aptitude, his way of working, his love subjects, his like subjects might be different. So that is where the differentiation has to be made actually. So the only thing is that if we want to, what is the underlying goal behind this? If you go on doubling your profit, that means you treat more and more cases. Underlying goal to a long term way to treat ultimately all patients. Short term, you go on incrementally increasing or a segmental approach. So this is the approach you actually need to follow, rather than jumping all to all the treatments in one go, or all the say enhanced charges in one go. And that is the say impatience that makes us do silly things in practice. And sometimes we lose, or say we actually don't get our say consultations converted positively sometimes. In any case, I always say that consultation, when we do, 7.2 out of 10 is the ideal conversion rate. That means if you consult 100 patients a month, or 100 patients in whatever number in a given time frame, 72 will get converted. This is the ideal. Not that in your case, this is the ideal or the perfect ratio or the perfect or desired. If you're doing anything more, it is wonderful. But a minimum one is always say 4 to 4.5. 100 में से 40 से 45 is the bare minimum. But if less than that are getting converted, then something is surely wrong at your end, and you need to check out the things. And average decent is considered 5.5 to 6.5, 55 to 65 out of 100. So that is the way we actually analyze things. Again, as I say, the importance of finance comes in here only. So then again, why we need to do that? Because when we do or start doing certain things repeatedly, we create an aura around us, or around in our area around us. We even don't know that our brand has been created. And when people start referring patients to us, it is time to identify your own importance and start charging according to your brand. People do the reverse. अब नाम बन गया, अब कुछ और करेंगे तो एक कम हो जाएगा. That is the actually time, जिसको बोलते हैं ना हिंदी में, ब्रांड भुनाने का टाइम है. That is the time to actually say make use of it, and we do the reverse. उसी ट्रीटमेंट पे उसी चार्जेस पे स्टिक कर रहे हो 4 साल, पेशेंट चले जाएंगे. That is the time to actually grow. I always believe that people fear raising their charges just for the lack of just for the reason that patients will go away. महंगा होना, being expensive is not an abuse. अगर कोई आपके बारे में कहता है डेंटिस्ट अच्छा तो है पर महंगा बहुत है, is that an abuse? वो गाली है आपको लग गई क्या? That should not be there. I always believe that, again, as I said, ओपनिंग बढ़ जाए, मी टाइम नहीं मिले तो प्राइस इज द बिगेस्ट फिल्टर. Increase your charges. Treat less. वैसे भी feel blessed. COVID has, yes, it has been a biggest nightmare of our lives. Of course, COVID-19. Many of us have lost loved ones. Even I had 2 deaths in my family in the past 4 years. One of them was because of COVID, but the other one not. But yes, it has given us many brighter things also. It has given us the time to analyze our life. Where we were going absolutely directionless. We didn't have any emergency money. People didn't have any stock of situation they had. They absolutely had nothing to actually look back and go back and analyze that life किस पटरे पे चल गई थी, कौन से tier 2, 1, 2, 3, 1 से start किया था, शायद 4 पे चल रहे थे. Even they didn't realize it. But yes, lockdown and COVID made them say realize this thing. And yes, now actually, as per the guidelines also, we are supposed to put in a gap between the patient. We are supposed to treat less. We are supposed to treat in a manner, obviously with increased charges. Whatever we were having expenses, courtesy COVID, we have to follow stricter guidelines. अपनी safety अपने हाथ, सबसे पहली safety अपने हैं. So in a zeal to maintain our and our family's health in good spirits, we need to maintain actual guidelines in clinic. And for that all comes at a cost. So if you were having expenses of, let's say, 40% or 50% earlier, now they are about, I'll always say 25% more than whatever it is, 25% of that number. So remember, where will that come from? And now you'll be treating less. Yes, economy is on the downslide, no doubt about it, but you'll be treating less. From where will you cover the lag? If you were interested in a volume sale, like a wholesaler, then you were actually doing wrong in the past as well. So trust me, these are not the factors. I have had a couple of patients reporting to me. We went to Dr. A, B, C, whatever, very close by, not very close by actually, but just 3 kilometers from my place. So he used to charge consultation of 300. Now he's charging a consultation of 1500. So it is he does a consultation in PPE. So he charges 1500. So, and today only that dentist only turned bad luck COVID positive. So it is not that he turned COVID positive because of that, but it is just a situation which is being thrust upon us. But that is what is, we need to understand, that we don't need to really say make so much exorbitant then the charges become actually say discernible to the patient, that they are 5 times of 300 consultation raised to 1500. Again, if you are having those category of patients, you really need to understand. If your patients can afford you, can pay you, can blindly trust you, or if you have a higher percentage of your star or brand ambassador patient, you really need to understand. That is where the number of your target audience or your say people who resonate with your brand, you need to understand. That is why movies भी जब बनती थी, अब तो खैर sister movies के लिए भी different हो गया totally. So they were made with a target audience. One who said we have made a movie for everyone, उसकी movie पक्का flop होती. One who said we are targeting children, we are targeting college going students, we are targeting families, they need to be actually identified, because a family will not go to watch a say happy or a romantic kind of a movie. They might not like it, a college kind of a romance. Similarly, a college going student will not like a family bonding type ties. Similarly, either of them will not like a kids movie. Of course, for the sake of children, some we have to go as well. But that is where the target audience can be limited accordingly. So you need to actually know what is your target audience and who is the target audience. They are actually a predetermined people who actually identify with you. That this dentist understands my needs and demands. That is where you need to say make a carve out a niche out of the niche or niche, what we call as. So I call it niche. So you need to carve out a niche for yourself, that yes, these people are my patients and I understand their situation better. Similarly, there can be many selling points. Your record keeping can be a good selling point. And remember, even after 21 years of my practice, I can still say I have not touched upon even 15% of my area. You can't treat everyone in your area. You can't really. But don't be bad about it. If you are treating all your area, my area has a population of more than say 1 lakh. I can't treat 1 lakh patients. Even if I do 10 per day or 20 per day, I can't do that even in a year. So why do I need to worry about that part? I have a database of my own patients. I always say numbers are just say for the beginners. Once you actually, it is very difficult to have first 5 happy patients, then 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 50, and 50 to 100. That journey is very difficult to have 100 happy or satisfied patients. But believe me, once you have 100, 100 to 200, 200 to 500, and 500 to 1000 will take lesser time than the first 100. And once you reach 1000, and an average clinic reaches that in 6 to 8 years. Can be less, can be more, depending upon what your skills are. But once you reach 1000 patients, if you don't change your work ethics, I always say, मान के चलो आपकी pension लगे. You will never die hungry from dentistry. You will never have a bad day in a profession, or bad month, sorry, I mean to say. Overall average wise, if I speak, you will never have that. 1000 happy or satisfied patients is the first benchmark. You need to actually look at it. And for the beginners, I always believe that this is the number you should be approaching. And the toughest journey is from 0 to 100. And the approaches also have to be in a similar manner. The approach can be patient-centric, patient-driven, or patient-focused. And these all are the different various philosophies which have been used to understand patients. Of course, if I go on explaining, this will take a lot of time. But the essence of basic is the same, say beneficence, the term used in medical legal aspects, meaning doing only good for the patient. Never ever cheat your patient, do your patient, and non-maleficence, as we also call as a subsidiary cousin of beneficence, doing no harm. So these are 2 words we actually need to understand. So whenever you make goals, they should be following the SMART criteria. They should be specific, they should be measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Either of these alphabets, if those are not specific, I want to target all my patients with my apex levator root canal, a wrong approach. Target your brand ambassador first, just as I gave you an example. Measurable, I want to have this many number of root canals this month, I want to double the profit next month. This is a measurable. Achievable, I want to do it in all my patients, or say 75% of my patients. Again, a wrong approach. Might not be achievable in the first 2 months. Start with the short approach, segmental approach, 15%, 20%, 30%. Go on segmentally, or say proportionately increasing it. Then realistic, मेरे को 1 साल में पैसे पूरे करने हैं. Might be possible sometime, but sometimes might not be realistic. Timely. Depreciation तो मिलती है 8 साल की, कोई बात नहीं, 8 साल में पैसे पूरे हो जाएंगे, कोई बात. Again a wrong. So the SMART criteria needs to be followed very strictly. And whenever you actually stick to a task, you need to go about this, So the how do you know your patients? Once you know that these are your target audience, these are your patients you want to treat. Again, as I said, the patient's socioeconomic background, you need to know the background of the patient. It does not mean that you will pitch something expensive always to all the or such patients, or you will pitch at a lesser cost to a patient who is not able to afford it. Believe me, you can be actually surprised sometimes. So understand or know what they want actually. Don't go on a blah, 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 or a blabbering approach in your clinic. You might be the master of your field. Yes, you are. That is why the patient has chosen you from 1 out of the 10. Maybe let's suppose you are 10 guys in the area. If the patient has chosen you 9 out of 10 times, he trusts you, or he has got a referral for you, or he has got a good report for you. That is why he's come to you. Yes, occasionally 1 out of 10 would be, I will say, a Googled patient or a second opinion patient. They can be 1.5%. But overall 8.5 to 9%, we say if the patient is coming to you, he's coming to you based on the trust factor. So it is on to you how you latch onto that opportunity. And that is where the numbers become important. If you're treating more in a day, you don't have time for a proper consultation. Consultation se hi conversion hoga. The one who does not spend time in consultation will never achieve actually good conversions. Patients, don't expect the patients to be impressed by that, how busy you are, what kind of a setup you have. Very busy, the doctor doesn't have time. Rather, the patients will depreciate that. They will not appreciate, I mean to say, that feeling that actually this is the approach. If the doctor doesn't have time, he's of no use to us. Yes, again, not for all, but for many patients. Then communicate clearly. Communicate clearly does not mean that you only have to say. First, learn to assess what they want to say. Most of the patients have this common complaint. Doctor ने हमारी बात ढंग से सुनी ही नहीं. This is the most common thing for any doctor, not for dentists, but all for doctors. अरे यार, पेन हो रहा है, ठंडा पानी पीने से रिलीफ मिलता है. You know it what it is, but let the patient speak up. Unless you give the patient proper time to speak up, the patient will not feel satisfied on his end. Many times when you try to rephrase, paraphrase certain things, exercise I do in communication many times. So the patient will say, "नहीं नहीं, पहले मेरी पूरी बात सुनो. Don't worry, I'm all ears. Go on." And then paying attention, eye to eye contact. Don't getting distracted. Don't looking at your phone. Don't looking at your assistant. These all body language makes a lot of importance when the patient is conveying you chief complaint. Then again, slight secrecy or privacy I'll always appreciate, because patients will not sometimes like to tell their complaint in open. Needs to be closed chamber, or at least you need to have a system where sometimes there are not people around when the patient is conveying. Sometimes patients may not be comfortable doing that. And communicate clearly means once they convey it, then paraphrase or rephrase in the patient's language, that whatever they have told, you have understood that properly. We might be brilliant, we might be intelligent, we might be toppers, we might have cracked entrance exams to get into medicine or dentistry, but it is not necessarily that we are equally skilled in finance or communication. These are the two things which actually are lacking in many doctors. Finance obviously is obvious, but communication is also one skill which is lacking in many doctors. And the biggest reason, lack of time and more number of OPD. बाहर बहुत पेशेंट बैठे हैं, जल्दी बोलो यार, निपटाओ अपना काम. The more time you spend in the consultation part, the more conversions you have. That is the bottom line for today. Again, many goals associated as well along with. So use your reputation to your advantage. As I said, if the patient has chosen you, remember this needs to be understood properly. And that is where you need to use that to your advantage. If the patient is trusting you with your treatment plan, give a treatment plan. Whatever you feel is the optimum, and don't make any compromises in that, just because many times I always believe, मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ, जब भी कोई न्यू कंसल्टेशन आए उसको अपनी आप मान के चलो you are his third opinion. The first opinion his original dentist, the second opinion Dr. Google. I believe that you are the third opinion, and give an opinion that is truthful and verifiable everywhere. Don't stoop to any kind of compromises just to please the patient, or don't to stoop to any measures just to remember or any treatment plans क्यों, because आपकी EMI कोई due है बड़ी, so that you make a treatment plan which is a compromised one, which will actually, again, it will be unethical as well. Then the basic principle, beneficence and non-maleficence, will be dishonored. So you need to do that. So this is the way you actually need to know that. And again, अब एक common middle class patient है, you shouldn't be actually routinely say convincing the patient repeatedly for a metal free. I'm not saying that they'll not get converted. What I mean to say is that you need to pitch in all kinds of marketing, because there might be different members of the same family who might be different, interested in a different kind of approach for the same prosthesis. If I give you an example, at the head of the family, the dad of the family, who will care about the costing part because he's the one who has to say pay the bills. The mother might be paying about the longevity and the technicality of that crown. Then the patient's immediate close, husband or wife, who's maybe focused on durability and aesthetics, depending upon the gender, of course. Then the message should be consistent. It should not be varying only on cost or only on aesthetics or only on your benefit. It should be a balanced approach in that way. I hope you are all sleepy. So targeting. So as they said, targeting always means it is your ability to close the deal in marketing language. In our language, to convince the patient, or say conversion. So unless you actually say understand the unique needs of the patient, this will not actually happen. So because you can actually communicate to your patients in a better way if you are actually interested in listening to what they say. Sometimes patient will tell you a lot many things. डॉक्टर मेरे को दर्द तो यहाँ पे है मोलर में, मेरे को दर्द तो यहाँ पे है, बट आई वांट टू गेट माय इंटीरियर आल्सो डन. एक बार ये ठीक हो जाए फिर मैं ये भी करवाऊंगी. And suddenly you have a look at the smile. The smile might be crooked, the tooth might be broken, slightly fractured, or they might be slightly jagged, needing a smile design. Of course, this is in the need of the patient, this is in the want of the patient. If you satisfy the needs properly, the wants will automatically follow. The only example I give in such a situation is, let's suppose a patient walks in with a 3-6. It is an open cavity. By the look of it, you know it that it is a root canal. Of course, no need to bypass the radiographic regime that is to be there. But let's skip that side for a moment. The patient says, "मेरे को बहुत pain है on this 3-6, and I need to actually whatever it is, मेरे को ठीक." And while checking, you just have a notice, have a look on the other side. The 4-5 and 4-6 are missing. The commonest Indian approach would be "मन में लड्डू फूटा." So that is the approach we actually have. What does that mean? It means actually that we would want to treat 4-6, 4-5 first, because that is a paying job. This is not a convincing a paying job. So what I always say is that treat this side with the 3 E's: efficaciously, effectively, and efficiently. And let the patient come back to you or pulled back to you for this. Don't always use the push option, use the pull option. Let the patient feel that if he's not coming, he's losing a good dentist, rather than you feeling that I lost a good patient. So this is the approach you actually need to have. So why a target audience? Because this is equivalent to a good marketing approach, and the patients can be your best messengers, and you can sell more efficiently with the right product. As the marketing lingo says, right product, right message, right way, right time, to the right people. A similar way, you have all the facilities available to you, you have all the kind of people available to you, or the patients available to you. You can sell your product, I wouldn't say sell your products, you can sell your services in the way you want actually. So the basic bottom line approach is always to sell effectively. The L, or the say higher arrow approach, we always like. The bottom line approach is always we all want to earn more money, and there is no wrong in admitting that. This is actually a right approach. The bottom line, we all work for this purpose only. Nobody works only for patient satisfaction. That might be the subsidiary or the adjoining goal along with. But the primary aim is we all want to have more sales from our business, and that is why we work for. No harm in admitting that. So why does the audience matter? As I say, the marketers dread this thing. A huge amount of time and money without a clear potential for good ROI. When they come to digital marketing, say my website should be ranked as first. Let's suppose I'm in Ludhiana. My keyword could dale dentist in Ludhiana, my website pops up first. Or I want to get 60 new patients through inbound marketing. Inbound means the internal marketing through patient referral. So again, Different type of goals can be, my visitors can be 100% each month through websites. What actually, again, the goals behind all this is, the long-term goal is to reach maximum patient. Don't try to reach all patients in your area, because you never can. Nobody has ever done it, and nobody ever will be able to do it in their area. They can't be treating everyone in their area. So the underlying desire is to actually reach more and more people, treat more and more people as our message goes in. But that is a good approach for the initial years of your practice. But once you grow on in practice, it is always better to filter out according to your specialty, according to your, say, love subject, and according to your reputation or your brand value. Once you charge or start using your brand value, you will be surprised that you will be achieving a 5-year goal in 2 years, because we don't actually use it. People ask me this question very commonly, पता कैसे लगता है कि ब्रांडिंग हो गई, मेरा ब्रांड बन गया है? मैं कहा आपके नाम के पोस्टर थोड़ा लगेंगे शहर में कि हाँ जी आपके नाम का ब्रांड बन गया. It doesn't happen. This is the way you have to be alert and awake in your practice. When you start having referrals regularly, people start making good things about you. Even people start saying, "वो है महंगा बहुत है." Even this is your brand only. There is nothing wrong. I don't call it a, say, in a abusive way. So many patients say, "Doctor, वो आए थे वो कहते हैं बहुत महंगे हो आप." Fine. I know what I charge. I still charge on the medium side what many people in my town charge. Comparatively, if I talk that ways. So I know what the actual charges are prevalent. Minimum rate is मैंने ही बनाई है लुधियाना branch की. So I know that what are the charges existing overall. We have done a feedback, we have done a survey kind of a thing. So सबसे हमने लिया feedback, anonymous feedback लिया था, blind feedback. So we know it, that what are the prevalent charges. So I know what I am charging exactly. I don't need to actually be worried about that part. So the audience matters, because they all will not, one shoe will not fit all. So all will not be categorized into one. So you have to develop a different segmental approach for each one of us. So how do you actually, say, begin your campaign, your marketing, or your approach towards your goals or towards your target audience? So because anytime when we start, we always say that we take a lot of time planning and building. And people say that when you are actually halfway, when you open up, you're only halfway up the hill. And when you are in the middle road, you actually need to pedal double. नहीं तो आप वापस गिरोगे. When you are, say, climbing a steep hill, at the middle part, when you open up, you say, yes, अब खुल गया clinic, 50% काम हो गया आपने. So that is the time you actually need to double your efforts rather than sitting back relaxed. Because as I said, otherwise you will fall back very soon. So beginning every campaign with a strong understanding of your audience is a best way to ensure your success. We can't afford to target everyone in our area. So we need to really know whom we are treating. Unless you know who you are treating, your class of patients, your background of your patients, then only you'll know that ये मेरे पास इतना revenue इस कारण आ रहा because I'm treating this kind of patients. And once you go a ladder up, that is the time you actually realize that yes, this category of patients, I can sell my aesthetic products better. I can sell the wants better to such kind of patients, which are actually, say, a good payback of your expenses. So we can't afford to treat everyone or target everyone. Remember that. So small practices actually, say, compete by targeting a niche market. So many will say we target anyone interested in their services, and sometimes they fail badly. As I said, movies are also made with a target audience. So we need to actually specify whom we are targeting: higher middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class, depending upon your area service. These days, many people do segmentation actually before opening up the clinics, since there are so many clinics in every areas. And the only problem is that 25% of the urban area of India is flooded with 75% of the dentists. That is why there's mushrooming and, say, flouting of the norms of medical legal ethics. So targeting a specific market does not mean that you don't fit people or exclude people who don't fit your criteria. That is where the role of price as a filter come in. That is where it is a message that you actually treat only limited people, or in a limited manner, or in a limited charges, and according to the specialty offer, and you are a master in that. Be a master. There used to be terminologies as a jack of all and master of none. Today is the time of master of few. Today is the time of that. have a couple of specialties which no one can beat you at. And once you master that, believe me, there will be no looking beyond. You can't do every procedure in your clinic. So stop doing it. Rajat wonderfully does it. He delegates all the work. He does only the prosto work. So we all can do it as well. I hope Dr. Baiju, Dr. Bhavna, Dr. Rohit, Dr. Santosh, we all four were there in the bounce back challenge. Dr. Rajiv Verma sir also explained it wonderfully well. Choose your love subjects and like subjects, and treat only your love subjects. He has been doing since the late 90s, 99, 2000. He had his first dental lab. He had his first dental lab opened up in 91. So he shifted to. He said, I have done about spent 20 lakhs and done 6 to 7 implant courses, but I have not even put in one implant in my life. It is not my aptitude only. He had an aptitude for crown and bridge. He had an aptitude for veneers, and he's the master of that. Close to 275 batches, and he's retired also now. And since 2001 or 2, he's doing this thing only in the past. Actively retired from practice in 2007, but yes, kept on taking batches and batches, and nobody can beat him in India on that. Yes, people can come close. Of course, he's the one to decide. But what I mean to say is he's at this level. And that is the way. He's doing only two things, veneers and crown and bridge, or any kind of prosthetic work. He's not doing any endos. He's not doing any implants. So why do we need to know actually that we don't need to know everything we don't need to do everything in that sense. We may be knowing it, but learn to segregate between what you do the best. Every one of us has a talent which we don't realize also actually sometimes. Till 2007, I didn't know that I could write. I had a speech defect. I have told you many times. I was a stammerer since childhood. I could not speak properly confidently. I was a camera shy person till March 2020. Life is all about overcoming your difficulties, your say failures, your debacles, whatever you can call it. This is all about overcoming your shortcomings. किस चीज में आप नहीं हो उस चीज को इतना, मेरे डैड का ये फॉर्मूला था, जिस चीज को आप डरते हो उस चीज को आप इतना करो कि वो चीज आपसे डरने लग जाए. So you overcome that fear. मेरे को पता मैं कैमरा फ्रेंडली अभी भी नहीं हूँ, मैं अभी भी कैमरा की तरफ कम देखता हूँ. I watch my videos after my presentation always. At least once मैं जरूर देखता हूँ एक वीडियो कोई भी. So yes, I'm still not very camera friendly, but that is why I'm trying to overcome that fear. And just 4 months. I am proud of what I am doing in way of numbers. That is my way of overcoming my shortcomings. I do things repeatedly. मैं कच्चा खिलाड़ी हूँ थोड़ा इस मामले में, तो मेरे को थोड़ा सीखने में टाइम लगता है. मेरे को फाइनेंस सीखने में भी टाइम लगता है. आई ट्रेन पीपल, दे गेट ट्रेन वेरी इजीली. देन आई फील पिटी दैट मेरे को इतने साल क्यों लगे सीखने में. सो दैट इज द ओनली थिंग. बट देन यस, एवरी इंडिविजुअल इज डिफरेंट. So how do you identify your target audience? How will you do that? The first thing is to know who are they, the socioeconomic background, the demographic profiling. As I said, these days before opening up the clinic, many research data is implied. आजकल तो बहुत easy हो गया scenario. All the say municipal councillors are having a demographic list of all the area population. कि क्या occupation है, कितने लोग हैं इस घर में. They have all the data before the voting. So this is वैसे भी 2021 में next year में census फिर से होगा. So again the details have been modified in that, and there many new things have been added. So if the people are going to share their data exactly, we'll have a huge amount of data with all of us. And in any case, Aadhaar linking has made many things easier for the government to actually track the demographic profiles. So why is that important? You actually can't sell a zirconia to a sweeper. Just going by an example. Not always. You might be lucky 1 in 100 times, but you don't really need to do that. So identifying those patients are important for that matter in that sense. Then your patient could be an investment banker working 6 days a week, a housewife who was say independent earlier, but now she is dependent on her husband's income, a daily wager, he can be struggling to make ends meet, or a businessman who has a lot of money but not the aptitude or the time to spend it. I have a lot of businessmen in my area. Common problem, डॉक्टर साहब रात को 12 साढ़े 12 आते हैं घर में, या 11 बजे आते हैं घर में. Again, discounting the COVID times, I'm talking of the normal times. Many of them come by 10, 10:30. Even if I ask them to come early, they say 9 बजे से पहले तो फिर भी नहीं आ पाएंगे. They sleep at around 12:30. By that time, their children are already say fallen asleep. सुबह जब उनके बच्चे स्कूल चले जाते हैं, they are still तो बच्चों को वो सोते हुए ग्रो करता देखते हैं. So many of those things. सुबह उठ के लेट उठे, 11 बजे फैक्ट्री चले गए, सुबह टाइम नहीं होता जी, लेबर हल्ला कर रही होती, बुला रही होती, तो जाने के टाइम. So they have all the money, all the thing, but they don't have the time or the endeavor to spend it. And I am surprised to find many of them having totally edentulous area in their posterior segments. So, but what is the use of the money if they are not having the endeavor or the time to spend it? So, assessing the needs and the wants. As I said, this is the second desire. Many times, patients will tell you many things by their verbal speech only. Only thing is, we need to actually listen to that. We need to patiently listen to that. And the only thing is, the patient may have a broken, say, fractured incisor, but it is the pain in the molar or the premolar that has brought him or her to your clinic. Then the patient may be having a sensitivity apart from other things. So identify the underlying problem that brings them to your clinic. Don't jump on to other treatments, even if they might seem grave to you in severity. Yes, you are doing a radiographic analysis and you come to know that the patient has another problem which needs urgent attention. Yes, notify the patient, but after the end of your consultation, once the patient's problem is relieved, or you're trying to take care of the immediate problem that has brought him or her to your clinic, mention it. If it is very grave situation, you have to mention it in a different manner. If it is a routine thing, yes, they also need attention, then you have to mention in a different manner. This is your way of communication, how you do it. What we do is actually we start spilling all the beans. ये भी करवाने वाला आपके, ये भी करवाने वाला, बहुत काम पड़ा आपको, तो बहुत टाइम लगेगा, बहुत खर्चा आपका. तो these two lines said in 2 to 3 seconds very casually literally can destroy all your reputation. Remember that. So you have to be really, दो कान और एक मुंह किसी पर्पस के लिए, the golden proportion has to be respected what God has given us. You do the reverse. सुनते कम है, बोलते ज़्यादा है. So that is where the importance comes in. We need to really assess the patient's needs and wants. अब needs and wants का एक बहुत प्यारा cycle है. Let's have a look at it. From when you go from low to high, the avoid and prioritize and the recognize and pursue, this cycle comes into play. This matrix comes into play. So this is actually assessing the proper needs and wants. Because the sooner you realize that the needs are going to stay forever, people who feel bad that dentistry is going towards doom, they need to realize that needs will always be there. It is the wants which will be temporarily diminished because of economic slowdown or whatever reason, but they are not going to go away permanently. They are going to still stay. So that is where the importance of patient source of referral comes in. Where did they get their info from? Or what benefit part of your services solves their problem? क्या आपकी speciality है that solves their problem? As Dr. Rajiv का मैंने example दिया, so maybe your word is that he is expensive, but he's a master in crown and bridge. He's a master in veneer. I need a veneer. What will I go for? I'll go for the best. Pricing का जब when I take a lecture, the most common example I give is nobody searches for the cheapest endodontist in the town. He always searches for the best. He never searches for the cheapest. Of course, he wants to pay for the cheapest to the best. That is a different proposition altogether. But what I mean to say is that we need to really understand. Then, what sets off their psyche to choose you? If you are 10 guys in your area, what made them choose you? This is your brand recognition. This is why I say be alert and awake. Then who do they trust? The source of referral, your brand ambassador patient, or somebody passing by, or if you're doing any marketing, you came across that. That is why from your website, from your say marketing links, what is the source? You need to actually really know it. You must have seen that many marketing companies also getting the column text. Where did you come to know us from? Because it helps in segmentation further. So the correct approach for there might be again many identifying customer archetypes. There are different approaches, but the simplest approach Rajat and me both have discussed many times in our group also. is the empathy. How old is your patient? Knowing the average age of your patient, because a veneer might not be applicable to a denture patient. A crown bridge might not be needed for a denture patient. Yes, implants might be applicable still, but a full mouth might not be applicable. This is where you need to actually segregate. Then what is your gender of the patient? Again, the beauty products like tooth jewelry or bridal makeover, they might be, say, good for the female patients, not for all patients. And females are more smile conscious than men. Of course, masks have temporarily diminished many things, but yes, these things will come back. So we need to actually know that. Then there are many guidelines for empathy. That what is your patient's job title or employment status? Public view में कितना रहते हैं? Public domain में कितना रहते हैं? What are they trying to accomplish each day? And then who are they trying to impress? So are they in the office or on the road job? So all these little factors, little guidelines, they can help you understand your patient in a better way. So this is the say in brief about. I hope I was not preachy enough. So this is in brief about the goals and the target audience. And I'm lucky for the first time I'm able to finish in almost an hour. So I never stick to my time. My workshops always go overboard. So so this was all about today. So the next session is for free group. Obviously, it is applicable to you. The topic for tomorrow would be patient satisfaction. But remember, there are 5+ groups, 1250 plus people. So the ones who log in early will be the lucky ones. So this is for Saturday, 8th August. So the next for paid group alone is on Wednesday, 12th August, morning 8 a.m. It is for the finance, the very basics. Again, I'll be sharing the link in the night itself on 11th. So 12th August, like 30th June is day of education. This is the mini day of education. It's my dad's birthday. So that is why I've kept it in a manner. So the same day I'll be having a session in free group as well, evening at 4, and evening at 8 o'clock, I have a session on wealth creation and end of week. So I'll be sharing that brochure as well. I have 3 webinars on that day itself. So thank you so much. All of you are aware of my YouTube channel. There are many videos uploaded. I keep on uploading them. So if you're not subscribed, you can do it. One thing which I'll appreciate from all of you is obviously your feedback, which you can post in the paid group regarding the today's session. Bouquets and brickbats, both would be welcome in equal measure. I'll really appreciate if you can drop in a line, whatever you feel in any way in how I can improve or how I can say deliver better. Again, as I said, this is just the demo sessions going on. So thank you and open for your queries. If I stop share. So any queries would be more than welcome on any topic. Or on any topic means the topics we have taken up today. Yes, Dr.
Sir, when you said that we should look at the patient's background, patient's need, and the patient's finance status, and then we should advise, the word is pitch in, the treatment modality. Let us say crowns. Let us just be very simple over here. That if a patient is from a lower middle class or slightly upper middle class or something, then we should probably not pitch in a metal free or a zirconia to them. There is another saying that you should never decide on behalf of your patient. Give them all the options. If they want, let them choose. If they can afford, let them choose. So if you could please correlate both these two different methodologies.
This is a Supreme Court judgment dated in the year 2008. That said that we are supposed to give every option to our patient, irrespective of the patient's socio-economic background, from the preferred to the most preferred to the least preferred, whether or not he or she can afford it, whether or not you are offering it or not. For example, if the patient is a sweeper and he has a missing tooth, just an example, so the first preference would be an implant, of course. And let's suppose you're not doing implants. Your first option is crown and bridge. So even if the patient is not affording it, you still have to give the option of implant first and tell that you are not doing it. And then let the patient choose. What I meant in my presentation was that you actually don't push the option or pitch the option aggressively. It's not that you don't have to tell the option only. You still have to tell the option, but you have to tell. As what I do it, that crowns are available from, let's suppose, from starting from metal 2500, I charge for a metal crown, from 2500 to 28,000. The lava premium I charge 28,000 in my clinic. So I said, crown to 2500 से 28,000 का available है. What is your budget? You can decide accordingly. When you give options to the patient, it always helps most of the time. And it is options don't always spoil, as we always say. So yes, pitching in aggressively and making a balance of that is equally important. Because I have had this scenario. I remember in 2004 or 5, uh, uh, porcelain Omega crowns were, this Vita had come up with Omega crowns at that time, 2004 or 5. So one of my patients got an interior crown done from me, PFM Omega. So I was charging about 3,200 for Omega at that time. And I think for the basic Vita, I was charging 17 or 1,800 at that time. Because I started my clinic in 2000 at 1,500. I reached about 1,800 for that, and I was charging 3,200 for Omega. The patient got an interior one done for Omega crown. 3 to 4 months down the line, the patient came to me for a third molar root canal. Luckily, the access and the visibility was good. So I treated that, but it had a broken, say, or a fractured distal ridge. So I advised a crown to be on the safer side. Since the lower one were in good occlusion, the access and visibility was good and the usability was good, she had a comparatively smaller mouth. So I blindly put in a Vita 95, 1,800, what I was charging, along with the root canal. So the patient was surprised. Doctor, पिछली बार आपने ज़्यादा पैसे लिए थे, इस बार कम पैसे लिए. What is the reason? Said, I've used this crown. Why didn't you do it? She was angry for me not using a Omega crown at the back. And believe me, I'm talking of the year 2004 and 5. I didn't know the M of marketing or the P of practice management at that time. Frankly, I didn't know it, because these words have, or these professions, alternate professions, I will say, were not there in my life at that time. So this was one of my mistake, which made me realize that the patient needs to given all the options, and the patient needs to decide. Of course, I replaced it. Whatever the damage of the lab cost was there, I absorbed it myself. But yes, eventually I earned more only in that exercise. But this is one mistake. If I remember it 16 years down the line, I'm not making it. Yes, obviously with knowledge you make lesser mistakes, as and when I started studying and say growing. So this is the way. What I mean to say is that if it is a patient from a lesser socioeconomic background, you don't need to actually pitch in your highest selling items aggressively. You have to give an option. Let the patient decide what is the budget. When you give a range, when you say मेरे पास ये क्राउन है, अच्छा ये 6,000 का है, पर मेरी 6,000 की हैसियत ही नहीं, तो आप बोलो कितना दे सकते हो, 2,500 दोगे. So that is a wrong approach. If you start in a way that I have the options from 2,500 to 28,000, whatever falls in your budget, you can pick and choose accordingly. That is the best way to go about it.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else with any queries? Chalo, then we call it a day. We'll meet you, many of you, tomorrow, hopefully, if you log in on time. So please do put in your feedback in the group itself. I'll really appreciate coming from you. So thank you. Have your dinner. Sleep well. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.